There have been some interesting episodes recently out in Southern California. The president of Pomona College, an elite small college, approached some protesters who came to her office, stormed her office, said basically you have 10 minutes to leave or you're getting arrested. And she followed through on it, and she tossed them out. Now some of them are facing prosecution. At Vanderbilt University in Nashville, some protesters who were students were expelled from the university because they were violating private property. And in one case, just perhaps the worst I've seen in all these 6 months, they were actually taunting a police officer, a black police officer, saying, "Oh, you should be on the side of the Palestinians," which the guy was just doing his job. It's all terrible, but that one just really sticks out.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with magazine editor David Mark. David, we are finally, 6 months after Hamas's attack on Israel, starting to see colleges crack down more and more on these pro-Hamas protests. Tell us more about that trend that we're seeing.
Yeah, it's a real change from the indulgence that we saw from these quote-unquote elite universities who basically let students and outside protesters run wild with all kinds of anti-Semitic vile rhetoric, etc., but sometimes breaking the law. There have been some interesting episodes recently out in Southern California. The president of Pomona College, an elite small college, approached some protesters who came to her office, stormed her office, said basically you have 10 minutes to leave or you're getting arrested. And she followed through on it, and she tossed them out. Now some of them are facing prosecution. At Vanderbilt University in Nashville, some protesters who were students were expelled from the university because they were violating private property. And in one case, just perhaps the worst I've seen in all these 6 months, they were actually taunting a police officer, a black police officer, saying, "Oh, you should be on the side of the Palestinians," which the guy was just doing his job. It's all terrible, but that one just really sticks out in one's mind. And then in Berkeley, California, the dean of the law school, Erwin Chemerinsky, had some graduating Berkeley law students to his house. Rather than, bringing a bottle of wine or some dessert or some flowers like you usually do when somebody invites you to their house, they protested. They seized the microphone. His wife, who is a law professor there, sternly but politely said, please leave," and they wouldn't do it. And this is private property. So, I know Chemerinsky. I've interviewed. I don't know him.
Oh, really?
Well, I've interviewed him several times. He's like the nicest guy. He's the most friendly, deferential person. To see him get upset on micro, I've just never seen that before. He's usually pretty smiling and friendly and approachable. So maybe things are finally changing.
Critics would say that colleges, these elite colleges and universities, in some ways created this monster that they're now dealing with, right? And we've seen universities really police and enforce those rules when it comes to conservative students. It's hard to imagine like a pro-life sit-in at any of these university faculty halls or whatever unfolding the same way.
Right.
Do you think that the colleges have credibility left to go back to the status quo of cracking down on conservative speech? Or is this actually maybe a good moment for conservative students who now, have this commitment to free speech from the universities to sort of lean on?
Yeah, that if you just say, there were two genders, you say that publicly, it won't ruin the rest of your life. Well, I'm not taking sides on that
right.
issue.
You don't want to litigate that right now?
Up to others. But the litigation question is an interesting one in that there are a lot of lawsuits pending now against these universities, and I think a lot of the legal counsels realize they may be on the short end of this legally, so they may have no choice but to start cracking down on this. You'd like to think they're doing it all out of good faith and the spirit of inquiry and free speech, and maybe they are, but I think there's also legal reasons, and whatever it takes.
Some House Republicans have threatened to investigate these incidents and potentially even revisit the tax-exempt status of universities who have inadequately dealt with anti-Semitic incidents. Do you see that as being a hollow threat, or is that something really that Congress could do?
It seems like it's such a narrowly divided Congress. It's just, it's tough to get almost anything passed. So for that specific proposal, it seems unlikely, really almost anything in Congress these days, but they can hold hearings on it. And we've seen what the effects were. That hearing some months ago basically led to the resignations of the presidents of Harvard and University of Pennsylvania. And there could be more coming. So, public pressure can do a lot.
Well, David, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
You can get more writing from David and the rest of the politics team at washingtonexaminer.com.